I didn't know he had loved someone before me. Not in the ordinary way people speak of old romances, the kind you shrug about, call my wild years, and fold away in the back pocket of memory. This was different. This was something that stayed alive in him, quietly, carefully, like a candle protected by two hands. But I didn't know that then when we met. He was gentle. Not shy, just measured. Like a man who had already lived a great deal and didn't want to waste words or promises. He listened more than he spoke. He laughed rarely. But when he did, it was a laugh with substance, like weather breaking after a long dry spell. I liked that about him. He didn't need to fill silence. He didn't fear it. We married in a small church with bad floral wallpaper and a choir of 6 old women who sang like sparrows. There was no big proposal, just a hands held across the kitchen table and a question asked softly enough to feel like breathing. We built a home that way. Not quickly. Not with fireworks. With steady hands. Steady routines. Steady love, the kind of life that doesn't impress strangers, but holds two people together through winters for years. Everything was ordinary. Coffee at 6:15. Him reading the newspaper with his glasses too low on his nose. Me humming to the radio while I cooked. Groceries in the same aisle. Bills paid on time. Birthdays not extravagant but thoughtful. Sunday mornings where the world felt mercifully small. Nothing dramatic. Nothing cinematic. Just life, real life. The kind that is not remembered in photographs because it happens in the quiet corners of existence. But sometimes in the soft air before sleep, I would wake and find him sitting at the edge of the bed, hands clasped, eyes fixed on something I could not see, a memory, a person, a time before me. I never asked. Because I believe love means trust. And trust means not prying into closed rooms of the heart, and perhaps I was right. Or perhaps I was just afraid of the answer. He grew older the way gentle men do, by fading. Not breaking. His hair silvered. His hands slowed. His breath shortened on stairs he used to climb without thinking. But he remained him. The same quiet presence that made a home feel like a place to rest. And not just a place to sleep. When the illness came, it did not announce itself loudly. It came like dust collecting on a shelf. Gradually. Softly. Until the weight of it was undeniable. Doctors spoke in slow tones. Words like progression and managed comfort. And spend time together. I did not cry in front of them. I waited. Until the car. Grief has a way of choosing where it will allow itself to be seen. I held his hand. Through every appointment, every needle, every quiet nod, he never complained. Not once. He lived his pain privately, as if to protect me from something I was already feeling. Love can be selfish. But his never was. The last week was the softest and the hardest. He slept more than he woke. The house dimmed itself to match him. Even the clock seemed to tick slower. One evening, as the light was folding itself across the floor, he whispered a name, not mine, a woman's name. Soft. Like something cherished. Something tended to. Something sacred. My heart did not break. It simply listened. I did not ask. His eyes opened once more that night. He looked at me with a gentleness I had never seen so completely. And then the world exhaled and took him with it. I did not scream. I did not shake him. I did not beg him to stay. I placed my hand on his chest, felt the stillness, and laid my head beside him the way I had done 1,000 times before. Because love does not end in panic. It ends in silence. After the funeral, after the casseroles, after the flowers that smelled like pity, after the doors closed, and the house became mine alone. I found a box. Small, worn, kept carefully. Inside were letters, all addressed to the same name, the name he spoke that last night. They were not passionate, not desperate, not romantic in the reckless way stories like to pretend they were. Tender. Soft. Thoughtful. He had loved her. Once, deeply, fully, before. Life took them in different directions before he met me, and he had never stopped carrying the space where she once lived. Not instead of me. Alongside me. As something formed before I arrived and never meant to be erased. I sat with those letters for a long time, not angry, not betrayed. Just understanding. He did not give me half of his heart. He simply had more heart than one life could hold. I was not his first love, but I was the one who stayed, the one he built a home with. The one he trusted with his mornings. The one he chose every day even when memory pulled gently at another door. Some loves are storms. Ours was a shoreline, steady, enduring, shaped by time. And I would choose that again. Every single time. The first days after I found the letters, I didn't move them. I didn't read further. I didn't hide them. I just let them be. They sat on the table the way truth sits in a room, not demanding to be confronted. Just existing, waiting for breath to match its weight. I walked around them. Made tea near them, opened windows and let morning light fall across them. I knew they were there. They knew I knew. Sometimes acceptance isn't loud. It's just agreeing to stop running. I thought, at first. The letters would hurt me if I read them all. But pain is not always sharp. Sometimes it is soft and wide and familiar, like sitting in a church alone after service has ended. The echoes are still warm from voices that have left. You feel something that isn't here anymore but hasn't gone either. I opened the first letter. On the fourth day, the paper was thin and worn from being handled many times. He wrote slowly. Each word looked like it was placed, not written. He spoke of the way she laughed, and the way the world felt larger when she was in it. He did not use big words. He did not describe passion. He described presence, the kind of love that sits beside the bed when you're tired and doesn't need to speak, the kind of love he later offered to me. And in that moment, I realized he didn't love me instead of her. He loved me the same way he learned to love her. Not replaced. Not compared. Carried forward. Love is not a single flame. It is a torch passed from hand to hand, warming whoever stands near. I read each letter slowly, over several days, not searching for myself, not competing with her. There is a dignity in choosing not to be jealous of what came before your time. He never tried to overwrite his history, and I never tried to demand he forget it. We met in the middle of a life already in progress. No one starts from the beginning. We just arrive at Chapter 7 and hope the story is still willing to grow. Some evenings, I sat at the kitchen table with the letters spread out and found myself smiling, not with joy, with understanding. He was not a man torn between two loves. He was a man who had learned to love deeply once, and that kind of love doesn't disappear just because the story changes. It becomes a language. And he spoke that language to me every morning when he poured my coffee and asked if I slept. Love is not always grand. Sometimes it is simply staying, and he stayed. He stayed with me. Through winters, through dull years, through sickness, through quiet breakfasts, he stayed. One day, I placed the letters back in the box, tied the ribbon, folded the lid, and I said out loud, not to him, but to the room, "Thank you for loving someone before me. It taught you how to love me gently." The house didn't answer, but the air felt warm. I didn't tell anyone about the letters. Not our son, not my sister, not the pastor who always looks like he wants to fix something. Not because it was secret, because it was ours. Not him and her. Him and me, because love leaves trails. Not competition, not territory. Just trails. And if you trace them far enough back, you find the place where the heart learned softness. I was not the beginning of his story, but I was the place his story rested, and that is not a lesser love. That is a home. Winter ended, spring came quiet. I opened the windows and the house breathed. So did I. The hardest part was not the letters, not the name he spoke, not the truth itself. The hardest part was learning how to let that truth live beside me, instead of inside me. People think heartbreak is loud, but the real kind, the kind that comes after years of shared mornings and grocery aisles and winter blankets, that heartbreak is a whisper. It doesn't shatter. It settles, and you have to decide whether you will let it bury you or teach you how to breathe differently. I did not want to be a woman defined by being after, not second, not replacement, not shadow. So I asked myself a question one morning, while the kettle warmed the room. What did I give him that no one else did? Not what I lacked, not what she gave him, what I gave. And the answer came quietly. I gave him a place to rest. Not excitement, not a story, not a dream, a home for a tired heart to land. Not everyone gets to be a fire. Some of us are the hearth. And there is no shame in that. I didn't throw the letters away. I didn't lock them up. I didn't reread them every night. I put them in a drawer that I open only when I miss the version of him who still had the strength to fall in love for the first time, not to compare, not to grieve. To remember that I loved a man who had a heart big enough for more than one lifetime. And that I was not a consolation. I was a part of his life. He stayed to live. There are mornings now when I make coffee for one and the silence does not feel like an absence, just space I know how to fill. I opened the window, let the day in, let myself in. The world did not end. It changed, and I changed with it. Not erased, not replaced, not abandoned. Transformed. I was not his first love, but I was his last, his final place to rest, his steady ground, his everyday morning, his winter coat, his warm floor, his quiet. And there is a kind of love in that which does not need to be spoken to be real. I know what I was to him. And that is enough, more than enough.